Okay, so here we go. And 3, 2. I think we need some more. 3, 2.
Wait. All right, I'm ready.
And 3, 2, 1. Okay. On this new series that I'm loving so far, on this Becoming series, and y'all, we are getting down to the most gritty for Becoming series. This is host, daniellejmartin of Behind the Spotlight podcast. Now, over the next couple of weeks, I'm inviting you to tune into a couple of conversations that I'll be having with some of my close friends who are also true believers and community influencers.
I will ask him for something, he will give it to me, but it's not how I thought it would look.
Just because you think that you deserve something does not mean that you deserve it in that season.
The skills that you have that nobody else has, your perspective, the lens that you have, those things are your best thing.
People always say, like, when you know better, you do better. But why is it that when you know better, you still don't do better? Are you really becoming wiser? Now, on this new series called Becoming, we're going to be diving into a variety of topics that's going to empower you and inspire you to become the better version of yourself.
That's what it is. Because you're stepping into the unknown. You're stepping into unfamiliar territory. So when you're growing and when you're evolving and when you're changing, you're going to be faced with things that you've never been faced with.
What God is calling you to do doesn't make sense. It makes miracles.
That you are the head and not the tail, above and not beneath.
Now, if you find that this conversation is serving you, then I encourage you to share it with someone else. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Now, open up your minds and be ready to be transformed. 1. Okay. Hey guys, it's your host, Danielle J. Martin. We're back with another episode 3, okay, with my favorite person. Cannot wait to introduce you guys to someone new, okay? So this week we are tackling overcoming fear. So as we're on the journey of becoming the better version of yourself, it's also important to understand what makes you fearful. What are the things that you're fearful about? Are you worried about anything? And if so, how are you addressing that? Okay. So joining me today is one of my favorite persons of the world, Jordan Foster. It's kind of surprising that he probably heard that I said he's my favorite person.
Yeah.
But it's true.
That was pretty surprising. I didn't expect that. I appreciate it.
So
thank you.
Jordan Foster is a morning anchor and reporter in Memphis, Tennessee, correct? As he's drinking water right now. It's going to be a very interesting episode.
That is correct.
Okay, disclaimer. Jordan Foster is a reporter in the news industry, but he's also on the side, he's a comedian. So in case you don't.
First off, no, we're not going to. I'm a practicing comedian. I've done a few open mics, but I have not declared myself in the draft for comedians just yet. So I don't want you to give people the wrong idea here, because they can't. But
you are a funny guy.
No shows there. I mean, no, I'm funny in real life. He's
a funny guy.
But I'm not a comedian yet. Comedy is an art, and it's something that I'm actively and I'm trying to get back into practicing at it. So yeah, we working on it though.
Well, in case you are not tuned into the YouTube version, I highly encourage you to, because let's just say your setup is pretty bad. It's actually like bad A, right? Like it's not bad, but like it's good, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Oh, you were trying to say, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, you're more than welcome to. Bad A.
And just for people out there, if you go insinuate the cuss word, you might as well just say it. Because it's nice. I think Jesus is just as disappointed when you insinuate it, even though you didn't say it. I just want to throw that out there too.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So the beauty of Jordan and I, right? So I always like to get people on the show and help them understand exactly a little bit more about you and who you are. So not only is he a reporter, but Jordan and I met, I think a couple of years ago now in Miami at a journalism conference at National Association of Black Journalists. And so while we were there, we kind of became associated, became friends. And during that time, he kind of like took me under his wing. And around that time, I was just starting my job at Topeka, Kansas. And we kind of stayed in touch there. And he's kind of really helped me understand basically how to develop myself in my career of who I am today. We stayed connected, and he's actually just been a really good friend and mentor throughout the entire journey that I've been here. So I appreciate you, Jordan. I'm giving him a lot of credit today. He's actually probably very surprised because I'm really not this nice to him
at all. So, but I appreciate it, no doubt.
No, but for those to know a little bit more about our relationship, but of course you just tell them like who Jordan is, like who is Jordan?
And I know why she asked me that, because she knows I hate that question. I mean, I don't know how to answer that. I mean, I'm Jordan Foster. She kind of just told you, where I work at. I'm just a guy out here trying to be successful, man. Honestly, that's really all I am. I'm making mistakes along the way. I'm learning, I'm growing, but every day we pushing through. So definitely. I am a growing young man, a single growing
ladies
young man. No,
we gotcha. He's trying to get caught up on the news on the
first off, I can't
podcast.
get caught up because I'm single.
You're right.
Yeah.
You trying to make we're trying to make question?
No, you about to focus in on this.
Okay, I can't.
What's the next question?
I can't. Okay, so but Jordan, you have been chosen for this episode because overcoming fear, right? So one of the things that I do enjoy about you is that you have really inspired me to kind of really go after the things that I've desired, right? Hence this podcast and kind of just really trying to be comfortable in who I am. Right. And so on this journey of becoming, you guys, it's not an easy journey. We understand that. And so what I love about the journey that you have in your life is that anytime you want something, you go after it and you're like fearless in it. And I will say that sometimes along the journey of what we call life, there's this thing called fear. How I look at fear is false evidence appearing real. Okay. Literally, it's the acronym. And so when you start to understand that fear is really something that you create in your mind and you have the power to overcome it, then you start to look at life in a whole different dynamic. Right. And so perspective rather. And so what I love is that Jordan, throughout his whole career industry, he has anything he's put his name on. He's like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to go tackle it. It's going to be mine. And I really admire that about your life. And so for people to get to know a little bit more about who you are, was there ever a time that you were fearful about something? Let's start there.
I know I'm not supposed to break the third wall, y'all, but this is like the third time we record this.
Oh my God. That is a disclaimer.
But I say that to say that I it's funny because I answer this question the same way each time. I think like anybody else, I have, I've had my fears, right? And I still have fears on certain things. I think we all have fears, but what I learned is that acting on fears or letting fears prevent you from accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish, do the things that you feel like you should be doing. I mean, that doesn't, help you. So ultimately get to the goal. So I'm just the type of person where, and thankfully, not by myself, I've come to that realization, but, through books, through, reading and hearing other people, motivational conversations, I just really adopted this idea of a positive mind and really, instead of focusing on the reasons and ways you can accomplish something, really just put that energy into figuring out why. Because, it's life in general, like all of this is really like a mental game. We're with our heads 24/7, our brains, right? We can't really, and so we're always thinking. And if anybody's like me, your brain is always going. And so to allow fear to stop that motion that you're trying to get to, it really doesn't serve a purpose. So I just train myself to say, you know, I know what I'm capable of doing and what I'm capable of accomplishing, and I just go for it. and my thing is, at the end of the day, you know, if you adopt this mindset, go big, fall short. You feel me? At least if you fall short, that's still progress that may not have happened if you didn't go at all.
Right.
And then even if you do fall short, because now you're a little closer, that could even motivate you to continue going. Like, that's living proof that, like, okay, yeah, I bumped my head along the way, but like, I didn't crash. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a little closer to that goal. So, you know, imagine what I can do, you know, or how life can be if I continue just, you know, keeping that same mindset.
I love that. And I also want to go even a different direction. Okay. So for those who don't know, yes, this is our third time recording, but third time is a charm, right?
I sure hope so. Because, you know, one of them we did all the way through. Another one we got like halfway
you didn't
through.
like it.
So, well, no, the first one was me. The second one was you. But I'm just saying, both times.
Now we're here.
But what I'm saying is, both times we've recorded like now. So honestly, it's no guarantee that this is gonna be the one. I hope so, though.
But there's beauty in that. Okay, I do want to say that there's beauty in passion, because sometimes you have to understand that this is the journey right here. Okay, so I'm willing to make sure that my guests are comfortable. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm also willing to make sure that we are able to put out content to where we are reaching viewers and listeners to understand that there's a word for you, and we have to make sure that it gets out in a certain way. So I do appreciate you like working with me and things like that.
No. And I mean, to your point, I think, like you said, the first one was me. And that's kind of why we revisited the second time, because it was like, I mean, the first conversation, not that it was bad or anything, but we were just being really goofy. It was just real funny. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just like,
this is serious.
Like, not even that it's serious, but like, I really want to use this as an opportunity to really share, you know, and who knows who can get something from the story. And I think the other one was just a little too like comfortable.
I mean, we are really goofy people. Like, it's interesting. But I want to go back to what you were saying as far as like, it is a mental game, right? And so one thing about fear that I don't think people understand, or something that I even learned today, was that how many ideas are you sitting on, but you're so fearful to produce them, right? Like a lot of things that people are sitting on all around you, right? And so like, what I'm trying to say is that I remember one person told me that the richest place in the world is the graveyard. Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah. So the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because that's where all of the ideas fall and fail, or they don't produce or anything like that.
Oh, so, wait, I know what you mean. It's because hold up, she explained that kind of wrong, y'all. The richest place. I didn't hear it like explained like that, but essentially, and I'm sorry, y'all, I'm working with my mic. Essentially, the richest place is the graveyard, because imagine how many people with ideas who didn't do anything with them died, and those ideas died with them.
That's what I just.
That's not what you said. The way you worded it, that was a little confusing. You said something like, riches, they die in the grave because grave dirt don't produce water. And I'm like, what?
Produce water?
Oh my God. Obviously, that's not what you said, Danielle, but I'm just saying.
It's okay. But that's what I meant.
That is what,
Yes. I was saying that is where everything dies, is because like it's not produced. Yes,
that's where everything dies. The graveyard. Like things don't die at the graveyard. People die and then get taken to the graveyard. Danny, people in the graveyard are dead.
I mean, like, the ideas don't produce. You know what I mean?
But I'm just saying, God forbid, if I die in the alley, then my idea died in the alley, not the graveyard. Is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? If I died in the hospital, then that's what idea died.
I understand that.
And now I'm in the graveyard with a dead idea.
That's where they're buried. How about that? Can we agree on that?
Sure.
Okay. This is our relationship right here. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I'm really trying to say is that so many people have ideas and they're fearful to produce them. From your perspective, Jordan, like, why is that?
I don't know, failure. I think is the main one. People just don't want to fail, or people are afraid of what couldn't. I think it's multiple reasons, right? I think it varies, but I think more often than none, it's more so people are afraid of failing and not, accomplishing what it is they set out to do, or hoping like, oh, I don't, if I post this picture, I don't think I get a lot of likes. If I apply for this job, I'm probably not gonna get it anyway. I'm underqualified. They'll probably, you know what I'm saying? And you talk yourself out of positions when at the end of the day, like if that's the case, that's the case. But don't not go for it. Like I've already, and it's just kind of personal. I would rather, I've kind of adopted a while ago. I don't want to live a life of regrets. And I don't say that meaning I jump on every opportunity, but I really take a chance and really analyze. And if there are things that I think I should go for or do or start putting in place, I really try to at least attempt to go for it, at least put a conscious effort to try and get to there, because at least at the end of the day, then I can say, hey, I tried it. It didn't work. Now, based off of what the results that I got back, does it make sense to continue pursuing this, or should I just let that go? Right. And then you make those decisions based off of that. But taking yourself out of, I think people just, and then on the flip side, I think people also are sometimes afraid of succeeding. You know what I'm saying? What does it mean? If this does happen, this would change my life. Am I ready for that type of change? So I think there are many different reasons. But ultimately, I think a person has to decide whether or not, it's something they truly want to go for, or if it's something they're okay with never pursuing the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And I think you explained that well, of just take the leap and try, and then even have the faith to believe and know that it's going to happen. And also just really get in alignment, depending on who you believe in, if you believe in a God or not, like really get in alignment of, do you think that this is for me? And does it logically make sense? Sometimes things don't logically make sense. Like I've said before, like sometimes things make miracles. They don't make sense. God doesn't make sense, but does it logically align with, where you're supposed to be? But I really do think that people should just try, and understanding that if you try and fail, there's also a lesson in that. You know what I mean? And understanding that even if I fail, I have the power to get back up, right? Has there ever been a time for you, per se, that like you've tried something and it didn't work out, but maybe you just went a different route?
Yeah, I mean, all the time, I think things constantly, like, we can plan and we can hope that things go a certain way, but ultimately we're dealt the hand that we're dealt with. And even when things don't go the way you want it to go, you just pivot and you refigure it out,
I like that word, pivot.
Yeah. No, it literally is pivoting. This don't go, okay, I'll go right instead. You know what I'm saying? And you just continue to figure it out. So I think every day, I'm faced with decisions where, I think, it's like, sorry, she just threw me off. She walked outside of the camera. I know she's probably having technical difficulties again. Are you good over there before I keep talking?
Yes,
I don't want to be.
Going.
I just said I didn't want to be in the middle of this talk. What was the question?
Has there ever been a time where you've tried something and it didn't work out, but you kind of did it a different way?
No, I think just life in general. School, I could honestly apply that to a lot of different aspects in life. When I first got to school, I almost flunked out, and I had to get to the point where I was like, ooh, okay, your mama raised you better than that. Your mama's a single parent. She's struggling to get you in school. Like, how dare you, get out here and just BS. And it wasn't because I didn't, I could say if it was one thing if I didn't get it, but just knowing that I was BSing, right? It was like, come on, bro. So I had to then pivot and be like, all right, how do I flip it back? Right. And then from there, when I realized when I went into school, I was a marketing major and realized I didn't want to do that. Had to pivot from that, right? I think life has literally been a pivot, and it's going to continue to be a pivot, because not everything is going to go according to plan. But as long as you plan and have some type of direction that you're heading in, it makes it a little easier.
I think that's the key word, Jordan, is like plan. Are you planning your life in a sense to where you are setting yourself up to succeed, because I think sometimes people have ideas, they don't know how to execute them because they're not planning anything. And it's like, I always recommend like write everything down, lay it down on paper. Can you see it? Can you visually see it? Does it make sense? Okay, what do you need to do to make sure that everything aligns in the plan that you want it to happen, right? So it's just like plan, making sure you are preparing for what you want to happen, because I think sometimes too that people think that things can just naturally happen to them, but they're not prepared, right? It's like praying for a job that you want, but you're not prepared for the job. Are you preparing yourself right now for what you are wanting in the future? Like really ask yourself that. Are you prepared?
Yeah. But, at the same time, I think it's important to plan, but I think, we creatures of our environment. And sometimes we are just not mentally able to plan because we sometimes don't know how to plan. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to plan. It's hard to plan for something you don't have experience in, or like for me, I'm a visual doer type of learner.
Right.
You can tell me something, but until I really understand or learn or physically am doing it, I'm not gonna get it. You can like planning. You can tell me, all right, you should plan better. But until I understand how that, right. Yeah. How do I do that? And I think that it's not that people don't always necessarily, don't want to plan. I think a lot of people don't know how to plan. I think people could also take, in certain cases, the extra step to learn and figure it out. But sometimes you honestly just have to, I think it takes some situations where you're thrown into, at least for me, I can say that I've been thrown into positions, thank God, that, I feel like I may have not been the most qualified or ready for, but you get in a position and, you got no choice but to get it in, and figure it out or get left behind. And ultimately, I ain't trying to get left behind. So that is kind of what helps, but then doing it again, I have a better, idea of what the standard and what to expect and what is expected of me, blah, blah, blah. So.
And I appreciate you even being even vulnerable to say that sometimes you can be told what to do, but you're like, how do I do that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, don't be afraid to even ask questions on how to do something. Cause I'm definitely in a space where, well, as a journalist, like I'm not afraid to ask the questions. I'm like, how do I do this? What do I need to do? Even with both of us, like you and I have interest in doing a podcast. And for me, it was just like, I really just didn't know how to start. It's like, how do I get all these pieces and put it in the puzzle to make it make sense? Like, I really just had to do a lot of research, so it's just like for you, I think, explain to the viewers, what do you recommend, and you can apply it to your life as well. But like when you were faced with a situation and you didn't know where to start, how did you start?
I can honestly give you, and that's a great question. I can give you a perfect example of just at least where things kind of really turn a turning point in life. I guess I would say that, and this is, real talk, like, after, kind of going, just being in a deep place of unhappiness, at least, especially when I was in the industry, it was like, all right, listen, I know now I'm starting to understand what it is I don't want to do. But I was really lost in, what I did want to do, right? Because it's like, all right, I know that this isn't for me, but because I've been doing this the last 6 years, including school and all the other stuff, right? What else is there for me to do? What else is out there? And you're faced with that challenge of then, all right, where do I, again, like you said, where do I start? Now I was in that place for a while, and that was kind of even a deeper and darker place, because not only are you sad, but now you're sad and you want to change, but you don't even know where to start or, where to move and turn to. What kind of helped me, the first and foremost, was prayer and really just calling on God. And in some tough moments. I think then after that, it kind of dawned on me, or at some point, and I don't know how, the realization came, but I told myself, I was just gonna start with me. Let me just start with me, right? I'm trying to figure out, I'm ahead of myself, right? How am I gonna know what I'm supposed to be doing, what my calling is, and I really don't even know who I am. Let me just do some soul searching. I've been, growing these last few, years. I've been working. I really haven't put time into figuring out who I am, growing into be as a man. So, first started with, so then second started with, it was soul searching. Who am I? What do I like to do when I'm at my happiest? What am I doing? Right. When I'm smiling the biggest, what are those moments are happening that's causing me to do that? And then once I kind of started addressing the things, okay, this is what I like. These are the things that make me happy. I took a list and, looked at all the words, circled them and said, okay, what does all of this look like as a job? You know what I'm saying? What does all of this look like as a position, as a career? And then that kind of helped me, right? So you start small and then you slowly start to expand. And it's like, all right, these are some options now out of this. What all are really reasonable at this time? Okay. What now the ones that are reasonable, what could I be doing today, you know, to get there tomorrow or the next week? How can I be setting myself right? So then it starts revealing itself as it goes. But it started with me ultimately.
I love that. And I'm so glad you opened up about that, because that also is another reason why I chose you for this, because I think a lot of people are in this position right now where they are in a position, a job, a career, a situation where they finally got there, something you prayed for. You're like, okay, I made it. And then it's not something that it turned out to be, right? As far as like, let me rephrase that, but it's not what you thought it was going to be. You're like, okay, is this it? Is there another level to this? And if there is, what does that look like? And so I really liked how you kind of like opened up about just your personal story on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it wasn't that I didn't know. I mean, there was a lot about the job that I didn't like, but it wasn't a lot that I didn't know going into it, right? I think I got exactly out of it what I thought I would. I think, in more cases than none, it was exactly the way people, describe it, and the hardships and stuff that, they're definitely similar stories to other people. But for me, it was the lack of fulfillment that ultimately caused me to say, let me take a step back. Because before, even though I wasn't 100% invested and really just loving the job, I was fulfilled with what I was doing day to day. So that fulfillment is what carried me over. Then once I got to the point where I was no longer fulfilled and unhappy, it was like, all right, what are you getting out of this? Because now, now you're just a big unhappy ass person. And like, honestly, like that's really not a place you want to be in. And then for me, it was during the pandemic. So then you're dealing with all that other stuff. Fortunately, thank God I hadn't had any major deaths in my family, when it came to the pandemic, anyone in my immediate family, but it was still tough, and it was a lot. And I think, if anybody is in that point, I would just encourage them to really start with themselves and really at their core, really try to understand who they are and what it is they truly want to do and makes them happy. Because if you can figure out what makes you happy and then tie work around that, even though it sounds so cliche and people say it all the time, but they don't really explain that process. But if you can figure out what you love and find a way to use it to make money, or, to get to this money, then
to get to the money.
No, for real. That's what it's all about.
You got to make a living out here.
Like for real. No, for real, and I know we all have different aspirations. Some people want to do big things, which is great. And some people just are trying to, get to a certain point and be good. And I think regardless of what it is you're chasing or what you want, you have to make that decision within yourself and feel like, and then figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you that you have to start with yourself. I think that's very important. One of my friends just asked me the other day, I don't know what to do. I'm lost, like being in a career. And again, reaching the highest point and okay, what else is there for me? And still not knowing what the end goal is. So I just asked her, I said, well, what makes you happy? Figuring out what makes you happy, and then just mapping out the resources and the jobs that you need to go into to get to that place, and for me, it was like having my own show. Like, this is what I would love to do all the time. Talk to people all day. Maybe not talk to Jordan all day, but I would talk to people all day.
Please not.
Oh my gosh. I just had to throw that in there.
Not.
Anyways,
absolutely
no,
not.
He is a great person, but I would love to do this all day. And so I really had to look at a different arena, and I'm still trying to dive into how can I make this into something successful and something I could do every single day. So eventually, yes, I can make a living off of it. Like, that is the ultimate goal. That would be super fun to just talk to my friends all the time and even people in the community and know their story and get people to understand that, hey, you actually might connect with this person. You guys might have something in common. And to just really let people know that you're not alone. I think the pandemic taught me more than anything that we are not alone. We're actually going through the exact same thing, but no one is talking about it. And it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid to be like, hey, sometimes I still feel lonely. You know, sometimes it's hard to be away from my family. You know, let's really talk about those deeper issues and understand that, like, hey, I'm with you. So, you know, today we're talking about fear. And so for me, it's fearful to, like you call it, pivot, to figure out, okay, I may actually have to go down a different avenue to get to where I want to be. That's fearful for a lot of people, you know?
But what's the alternative? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's that's how I think, right? Yes, it's a little scary to think about trying something new or putting yourself in new waters or in uncomfortable territory, but like, what's the alternative? Continue being unhappy and doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like you really have to put that in perspective and say, all right, I mean, and either or, right? Whatever you decide is what you decide. You got to figure out what's best for you, but really putting into perspective. Yes. Is this what I want, or is this what I want? What are the pros? What are the cons? All right, okay, I'm just going to stay where I'm going to continue this. And then maybe, you know what I'm saying? Pivot another way, or let me just go ahead and jump on this because I'm over this, you know?
Yeah. And I like that because I even like correlate it to a relationship, right? It's like even asking yourself, for those who are stuck in a relationship and you're like, I want to get out, or maybe there's something out there for me. Well, why are you still stuck in that situation? Like, what is keeping you there? You know what I mean? Like, speaking to everything, not even just career related, but like if you're in a relationship and you know that God has been calling you out of it, or you know that you need to be somewhere else, or if you feel in your spirit, like, okay, this is not for me. It's like, what is keeping you there? Like, why are you staying somewhere that you are unhappy? Maybe you have children together. And yes, I am supportive of making it work for your children. But at the end of the day, I'm also supportive in making sure you're happy for your children. That's a different topic, I know. But
yeah, I can't touch that.
I'm like, it's a different topic, and we will dive into it another day.
No kids. I can't understand. I mean, like, it's not that I don't want to talk about. I think I just can't relate. Like, I wouldn't even. Yeah. I you know, and especially like when it comes to advice, a lot of people come to me, or not a lot of people come to me because really
people come to you.
No, actually, I'm really surprised. Like, you know, on some real stuff, you know, no.
We do. I agree. Jordan, I come to you. I know.
First off, let me hush and let me finish talking what I'm telling you, because this is something
I thought about the
other day. You asked me a question. But no, people really don't come to me as often as you would think. And that's kind of disappointing to me, because I feel like I have a lot of knowledge and I would love to, you know, help. But these last few years, I've been so me focused that I also haven't been able to just go out and look for people to help. But I've always tried to be accessible for the most part. There are people who have come, and I got to do a better job of following up. But I think people today, or especially our younger generation, are a little bit different than us. Because I was the type, if I message you and you was like, yeah, hit me up next week, or I'll look and give you some feedback next week, and I didn't hear from you, I'm gonna text you, you know, nicely, I'm gonna be like, hey, just checking in, because you know, just checking in, just, you know, I know you said you're gonna give me feedback, you know, did you need more time, or just want to, you know, to keep blah blah blah, right? You know, but
it's a different generation out here.
But I didn't deal with. I did do it so much for the grind, but it was also because I tried to understand and put myself in other people's perspective and understand that I'm not a priority in their lives. So they may truly have the best intentions to get back, but then life could have happened. You know, they could have had slot, you know, they could have been doing something, and then they opened the message. So now the notification is gone, and now maybe they just didn't see it and forgot. Like, that's more so what I mean, because that happens to me a lot. But I say that to say, I wish more people would, because I do have a lot of knowledge that I would love to give. But at the end of the day, I mean, I really like teaching, and I think I'm gonna get into some form of teaching anyways. But that was something you had asked me before that. I don't remember what it was.
Me neither. We went down this whole rabbit hole. It's
because
okay.
If you would have just let me get my thought out the first time, I would have said that, and I would have kept it going. And then you just had to fight me because who knows?
We're literally like brother and sister fighting all the time, just so you know. Anyways, okay. So, This is a good question, right? So I think I asked you this before. I'm interested if you're going to change your answer, but what are you afraid of? The dark. Death. That's what it was.
The dark. I mean, not to say like, that's anything. I'm just trying to, she's just not like, how you give the dark from death? No,
I knew it started with a D. Okay. So
I used to be afraid of the dark.
I'm afraid of the dark, actually, in case you didn't know that.
I used to be. I still am. I sleep with naturally now I sleep with a TV on, and I can't sleep without a TV because I think it's the background noise. But I used to sleep with the TV on as a kid so that I could have light. I used to my mom used to always try to turn off the TV when I was sleeping. I'm like, stop turning off my TV. I hate waking up to a dark ass room.
It's my nightlight.
13 years old. My uncles are mean. They telling me about all this scary stuff, and you go turn off the dang TV. Keep this TV on.
Oh my God. Okay. So first of all,
I'm afraid for my life.
Look, you don't understand now. I absolutely love, because nowadays, I don't think they had it back then where the TV would go off by itself. Now I love these smart TVs where they're like,
about sleep timer or
no. Well, back then, I don't know if there was a sleep timer.
There were sleep timers back then.
Probably,
I mean, it wasn't that old because I used to use the sleep timers.
Maybe, but now I don't have a sleep timer. My TV naturally just turns off after you're like not watching it for a certain period of time.
Oh wow, no, it must be nice. She making that good money in Topeka. Look at her setup. Look at
I can't.
She got what is that?
Smart TV?
No, I'm looking at the silk curtains in the back. That's crazy.
We're set up back here. Look,
probably
this is
real
how we
gold
do it out
trim.
here in Topeka.
That is real 24 karat gold trim.
I can't.
That's crazy.
Comedian, y'all.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, so you're not afraid of anything, but
I'm afraid of death.
You're afraid of death. Okay,
I'm afraid of death. I don't
know why. Don't you believe you're gonna be going to like a happy place?
No. I hope so. I definitely hope so, Jesus. But no, it's not so much I'm afraid of dying, because at the end of the day, I mean, that's the only thing we're promised. But it's more so, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, I've been fortunate to not have anybody like just close, like a close family member, pass away, other than my dad. But we didn't really have the closest relationship, so it didn't hit me like somebody who I'm used to talking to every day. Right. I just haven't experienced that loss, at a close, level. And unfortunately, I know that, being that everybody passes away at some point, I'm going to, and I don't know who and I don't know when. And I think that is the part that more so scares me than anything else. And more so, how I deal with it, because we all deal with death differently, and until it really happens or it happens to you, you don't really know how to deal with it or what to do or what to think. And that's even a question that I avoid, like, with friends or family or something. Like, I don't really like talking about it, I definitely pray for people when they tell me that, some loved one has passed.
Definitely.
But I'm not the best with like conversations, like, and I'm an awkward person, and that's just a conversation because I just don't know what to say, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, and I don't know what people want to hear, and I don't want to be generic at the same time. Like, so I just choose to, like, I pray, I keep my distance, and I just let that person come to me.
That's real.
No, that's real talk.
That's real.
So I try to not avoid it, but stay out of the way.
Yeah. And just think positive,
and just think positive and send positive words, positive vibes, prayers, the stuff to combat that. Right.
Definitely. And speaking of combating that, we talked about the things that you fear and maybe possibly to the different ways you can overcome them. But how I see overcoming fear is also becoming something else, overcoming to becoming. So if you had any advice for the viewers on how to overcome or combat certain things that they're afraid of, maybe it's, pursuing a certain job, maybe it's going after creating the idea that you've always wanted to create this or that. What advice could you give to the viewers and listeners on overcoming fear?
I think, and I can only speak to what I guess my method or kind of what helps me. But one, it starts in the mind, right? Knowing that you can do it. Once you know that you can do it, then plan, like we mentioned out, plan as much as you can, map it out, write it down, right? I know that I can do this. How do I get to doing that? What does that look like? How can I do that realistically? And I think doing those two things, the third thing is literally do it. Because I think once you go through those first two steps of having it in your mind that you can, and then planning it out, once you look at that, it becomes attainable. You know what I'm saying? It becomes attainable, it becomes realistic. And so then
I love that.
It's a lot easier it's not as, nerve-wracking to start that new job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
or get out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. You have a plan of attack. You kind of are going in with some type of idea. And now, and again, knowing that you can accomplish it, and knowing that even if you have a plan and you get in and you go your first day, or you do that thing and it works absolutely the opposite way, knowing that you're going to take that and keep it pushing and figure it out, pivot, right? You're going to take that and pivot and figure out, okay, that didn't work. Now that I have an idea, now that I know why it didn't work and what didn't work, let's go back to the drawing board and adjust. And then again, it just becomes a back and forth game of adjusting, figuring it out, working, changing, like literally. But now look how much further you are than the fear if you wouldn't have started. You know what I'm saying? And then I'll say this as well, because it's something that I just heard Steve Harvey say earlier, or a few days ago, that I thought would also, that would kind of hit me. But basically, he was basically just saying, in short, that everybody has a 100% track record when it comes to facing bad days. Like, and basically the example he used, he asked everybody, raise your hand if you've had a bad day. Raise your hand if you've had days that you just didn't know if you would be able to get through it. Now, how many of y'all are here today? You know what I'm saying? So literally, like through and through, whenever you have those bad days, knowing that you still going to be okay, you're still going to figure out, you still hopefully, if God allows you to wake up the next day, live to see another day, to keep fighting and keep breathing. That's what pushes me, and that's why I overcome fear, because I know that at the end of the day, I can do all things through Christ. And if I can't, then, that's okay. I'm gonna go and do something else. Maybe I wasn't supposed to do that, because I can do all things through Christ. So if there's something that I can't do that I'm trying to do and that I can't, maybe it's not of Christ. So
come on, Jordan, with the word. Come on, Jordan, snaps. We are giving him snaps. No, I love everything you said. So, pivoting and adjusting, right? And I think people have to understand that, like, that is literally what life is about. And I think sometimes when you hear the cliche that like life is a journey, you're like, okay, yeah, life is a journey. But like, really, that's what life is about. It's for you to try. That didn't work. Okay, let me go try something else. But like, don't be afraid to try. Like, really don't. Because I think you said something earlier that like, it just takes you to start, like you just have to start it. And if you don't, like, what would it look like if you don't start? Then you're just going to be like sitting exactly where you are. And is that place happiness? Is that place making you whole? Is that place providing you comfort? And if it is, maybe you should just readjust and figure out, how can I get to the place that I want to be? And understand that it's going to be okay. I think we have to remind ourselves that when you surround yourself with positive people and people who actually believe in you, and understand that it's going to be okay, and knowing that it's not supposed to make sense for everyone. That's what I learned today. It's not supposed to make sense for everyone. If it makes sense to you, if it's something that you were supposed to be called to do, then do that. Just do that.
And to that point, it's not going to make sense to everyone. Everybody can't see your vision the way you see it. And ultimately, you can't let the lack of somebody else's view and the lack of somebody else's point of view stop you from, getting and attaining what it is you're supposed to do. And for instance, what I'm doing now was something that I saw in my head, 2 years ago, that in my head, I knew, man, if I only had the opportunity, man, if I only had the chance, this is what I know I would be able to do. This is what I know I would be able to take this and do with this, and the opportunities I'd be able to make and all this other stuff. And then I had to change my mindset to what am I trying to say? I'm sorry, I completely lost my train of thought. But basically, I went after, like you said earlier, what it was. I made those opportunities happen. You know, at the end of the day, sometimes it's not going to always be clear and people are not going to always see it. But when you have the opportunity to find ways to create that and show people, put it in people's faces and be so, and it's crazy. Jonathan Martin, shout out to Jonathan, man. One thing he told me, I was dealing with some stuff in my first market and I was just so frustrated. And I was telling him, you know, all the stuff that I felt like I should have been doing and places that I, you know, whatever, the stuff that was unfair and the way I was being treated. And he basically told me, you know,
the opportunity.
Not even so as that. He told me, be so good that they can't help but to notice. Like they can't help but to give you that position because you're the clear front runner. You're the clear, you know, favorite. Yes. You're the clear most credited, most experienced, you know, best person for the job. Be so good that they can't deny you and put it in their faces. And when you do that, it's like you said, they can't, because it's like, bro, how you gonna tell me? Like, who else you gonna do? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then if anything, because the people react how they react, but if anything, it's more, you know, it becomes more apparent that, all right, it may be more to this than just he's not qualified or he's not, you know, the best person for that position, because obviously he is, and everybody at this point knows it. Yeah. So, yeah, you got to sometimes put people in tough decisions, you know, tough situations, back them against corners, you know, definitely. Go into these offices with these news directors and assistant news directors. And if it's the assistant news director, if you feel like it's crippling you, you know, or holding you back, you know, have that conversation in front of, you know, the news director. Hey, you know, did you ever take a look at that reel of stuff that I sent you? The news director, oh, what reel? Oh yeah, I can send it to you. I sent him because I wanted to do something different, and I just wanted his thoughts right now. Right, you know, it's setting yourself up to really be successful and to get that out there, that vision. It's up to you to bring people up to speed to where you are. You know, unfortunately.
And that's a real thing. Like, don't expect people to understand or know your gift, or don't wait for the opportunity to come to you, which is why I was like thinking in my mind, definitely be sure to be so big that they can't unnotice you, but also create the opportunity if it's not being created for you. You have the opportunity, you have the power in your hands and your mind to create the ideas that you're holding on to. Create that. Don't hold on to it.
And to that point, you know, another kind of relation back, because I usually can't tie things back to things that I experienced, but this conversation I can. Shout out to you. You getting all the gems. But like when I was saying in that dark place where I was, you know, saying, because there's a lot more to that story, but essentially when, you know, I got to the place of figuring out, okay, I don't know. I know what I don't want to do. I don't know what it is I do want to do. So let me just do something. Like literally. And I think you remember I created the 2-Minute Tuesday, which is something it was such a dope idea. It was something that basically I was like, look, I don't have this creative energy at work. So I'm going to create my own show. I'm in some capacity that I'm a record with one of my homies who is an amazing photographer. Shout out to my boy QD, man. I'm definitely going to, I look forward to working with that young, talented brother more in the future on some stuff that we want to get going. But, you know, ultimately we were like, yo, I'm not getting this opportunity at work. So how about me and you get up here and we do something, and created, you know, what is a great idea. And I think was ahead of its time. That's why we literally did like a teaser video, and we recorded a few episodes that we never put out and stuff, just because it was a lot that was in that, you know, going through it at the time of work and, you know, all the other stuff. But because of that teaser video that I sent it to my, you know, my assistant news director at the time, who was one of my biggest advocates, you know, and really helped me, you know, succeed in San Antonio. Definitely. But sent it to him, and I think that small 15-second teaser of it really showed him a different personality, a different side, where it was like, And then when and after, me having that conversation with him, telling him, hey, listen, this is where I'm at in life. This is what I think I should be doing more of. When the opportunity presented itself, he then was like, yo, we have this. I think this would be great for you. Let's see where this goes. And that really just is where things took off for me. So
it just took you like asking.
Yeah, no, create. And not even asking, but more so you're creating. Back to what you were saying, creating, who's to say without me doing that and showing him that side of me, how do I know he would have thought about me for that opportunity? You know what I'm saying? And so it's literally, creating. You can't box yourself in. Like if there's something you want to get out here and do, especially journalists, like things on camera, off camera, like editing it, but we have the capability to do so much. It's like, no, bro, get out there and do it and try at least,
right?
Or at least try to find somebody who does, ask, network, but it's really up to us to figure it out or continue to be unhappy.
Yeah. And that's true. And like, lastly, I would just say that, like, I think also too, don't limit yourself to thinking that just because you went to school for this, or just because, you only know how to do this, that you are only supposed to do that job. Because when I'm learning more than anything, that a lot of people are I think it's like cross skills. I believe it's what it's called.
A lot of people can do a lot of different things.
Right. And then, like, that's probably not the right verbiage for it, but it's something basically you're taking your skills and you're using it in a different avenue or a different perspective. Possibly, but I think it's something where it's like cross something. It's like, it's just not coming to mind, but basically you can use your skills in a different area, in a different arena, and not even realize, oh, wow, I can use what I used in journalism here. It's like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, a lot of stuff we learn carries over and transfers to many other different things. I was having a conversation with the other day, somebody in the industry, and that was literally what I told him. Like, yo, like, if I wanted to get out here tomorrow and shoot a documentary, like, I could do that. I could shoot it, I could write it, I could produce it. You know what I'm saying? Like a legit, like with the right equipment or whatever, we could get out here, we can shoot our own stuff. Honestly.
Oh, I'm ready to go.
That's not what I want to do. I don't think that's my ministry. But, just that realization that, if we, like you said, to that point, we have the ability to do a lot more than what we realize. And so once you realize what it is you're wanting to do, and then tying that in with your abilities and what you're able to do, it really helps you figure out that bridge, right? It really, the more information, the more planning and ideation and really putting it on paper, the more it starts to slowly form. And then, and like, like those circles that, you put in, and then eventually it meets in the middle, and it's like, all right, this is it.
Yeah.
The more you start putting things on paper and really like going through your thoughts and understanding, like, the more it just becomes clearer, and you'll start seeing repeat and things that are consistent, and you're like, all right, I think this is what it is. Like, this has to be what it is.
Definitely.
So let me try it, and then try it. And if it's not, then what was the next thing, right? You know what I'm saying? But now you have a basis and a starting point of at least a few ideas and ways to really just move around and accomplish really everything you just wanted to do, and get out of life everything you wanted to get out of life, to be honest, because that's what it's all about.
Definitely. Well, Jordan, you definitely said a lot of really good gems that I know that people can take away from. But as we come to the end, we always give our guests the room to just leave a little bit of nuggets, leave some nuggets, not food, but just, words of wisdom. Do you have any nuggets for the listeners?
No nuggets, but I'll leave with this. And this is just the motto, mantra that I live my life by. Don't trip off of what you can't control. And basically that means it's a lot of things in life that come at us, that happen, that honestly are just out of our control. And naturally, as human beings, we are always focused on the things that make the situation bad, or the hurt we're feeling it because of it, or the frustration that may come with things not happening the way we want, or things that are happening. But ultimately, we have to assess each situation and really truly say, okay, is me thinking this way, is that going to help? Is that going to change the situation because I feel angry? Is my anger going to help switch that situation around? Me being angry about it is not going to do nothing. Me going and punching a hole in the wall, that's not going to do anything to help the situation, right? What And so instead of focusing on the reasons why things aren't working out, turn that energy and to the point of the conversation that we've been having today, turn that energy and focus on the things that are within your control, right? Sometimes you can't control how another person's move, because sometimes we're on other people's time. Sometimes you can't control what another person does, but sometimes you can control, what gets done on your end. And if you focus on the things on your end and what are within your control, just life gets so much easier. And the stuff things you used to be stressed out about, you're no longer stressed about, because it's, stressing is not going to help the situation. Like, no matter how bad you stress, and, it's not going to change. So focus on the positive, focus on the things that are within your reach, and get it done, figure out a way to get it done, at the end of the day.
Well, I definitely appreciate you, Jordan, for being here. You definitely, you laid it out today. You did. Okay, you guys, for real, you have to go look at the YouTube version of this, because this whole setup, man, you got to get into this setup. Got the fire going, got the plans. Did you take a little bit of notes from the last 2 times?
No, but I've upgraded, each time, I don't want to be stagnant. The first time was a mess.
Upgrade. Yes.
An absolute mess.
Look, he had actually Barack Obama back there. He's not here today.
Do you even remember the first one where the ring light kept going out? The ring light kept going out.
Okay, did you get a new light?
No, I don't need a spotlight. I was like, whatever. And like for what I want, I could have, but then it would have made it a lot here. So I was like, Bryan.
You worried about the light the whole time.
That was the only thing. I wish the spotlight here was a little better. But,
it still looks good though.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you guys, I always say that I don't want you to leave here with nothing, of course. So be sure to follow Jordan on all of his social media platforms. Jordan, what's your social media handle?
First off, we should have did this in the beginning, because there was a lot more people listening in the beginning than the end.
My God.
So I'm just saying, if you go shout out your guests, and we want
First of all, we're gonna do this how we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
it'll be in the description. It'll be in the description.
It'll be in the description. It's Jordan F Live. Jordan, big J, little F, Live, big L, live, as literally in live. TV. On TV every day. Yes, that was kind of the thought process behind it. Username used to be _so_slim. An era. Yeah.
We have upgraded. Look,
an era.
This is the time where
shout out to all my slimming nights out there, all my people who knew me as Slim. What a time to be alive. All summer. What a 16.
Time. What a time. No, you guys, I'm super excited.
Yeah. All summer 16, baby.
This is what I deal with.
Should be a DJ, radio show host.
Probably. You're cutting up with the mic. I'm telling you, the mic does it does something to you. I'm telling you, it does. Right?
The mic?
Yeah. It just gives you like this confidence.
Oh, like I look confident, or
not you. I'm just saying the fact that we both have it. It's like it does something to us. It's like I feel legit.
I just wanted to talk, and I wanted the quality to be solid.
Oh my gosh. All right. Anyway,
and I'm thankful.
You guys,
thank Jesus for everything that I have in life.
I highly encourage that you share this with someone else. We always challenge you that if it touched you, inspired you, it's for someone else next to you as well. So definitely go ahead and share this. Don't be afraid to share this on all of your social media platforms. And also, am I forgetting anything else?
If you don't share this to at least 10 people,
what's gonna happen?
No, I don't like wishing people. I don't like wishing bad on people. But don't you hate those? Don't you hate those messages? You don't send this to 5 people. Jesus doesn't love you.
I don't get those
Jesus
messages.
To love me.
I don't get those messages. But anyways,
not no more.
Definitely be sure to follow us.
I had to tell my aunt to stop sending me these messages. Hey, Lisa. Sheesh.
It used to be like 15.
Got me feeling obligated to share this. Like
it was like you had to share with like 15 people. I'm like, first of all, that's a lot of people.
And then they'll end it with Jesus is watching. God knows all. Because I'd be like, I ain't gonna send it to 30. I'm gonna send it to 7.
I can't.
He's watching. He knows. He knows everything. Oh
gosh.
Gotta do it for Jesus, man.
No, I really do appreciate you, Jordan. You did awesome. So
I think in honor of, and you keep trying to wrap this up before you leave, in honor of you trying to out me as a comedian, you have to tell me a joke.
I have to tell you a joke, but yes. I'm not the comedian here.
Exactly.
You are.
Jokes on you.
You're supposed Y'all, it's the fact that he's really laughing. I can't.
Because there's so crazy. Jokes on you. Like, you get it? Jokes on you. Oh, man.
Wow.
That's so crazy. I'll leave you with one. What do you call a group of smart people on a boat?
What?
Scholarship.
Okay, that was not funny. Okay, I promise he has better jokes. Just go check
First
out
off,
his
the
social media
one before
platforms.
that was really funny. I was just joking on that one. At least I said some jokes, but
definitely not.
Cool.
Anyways, all right, you guys, that's all for today's podcast. We'll see you back here next week.